What do you feed your cat? Is it dry food, canned food, or raw food? Every one has its benefits, and sometimes it has its disadvantages. So we're going to go over what you should feed your cat in today's webinar. I'm Dr. Jeff Grognet from the ACE Academy for Canine Educators. Today we're going to look at feeding cats. Now, you're probably all familiar with the foods you can get at the pet store. Dry food, canned food, and raw, which is frozen. Sometimes there's also freeze-dried, but we'll stick with the frozen for now. Anyway, the dry food, you buy it in a bag, you put it in the bowl, let the cat go at it. The canned food, they're the ones you open with the can opener, or more commonly now, just a flip top, and you feed it usually a couple of times a day. And then the raw food is stuff either that you can buy pre-packaged in frozen form, or you can make it yourself. So which one would we prefer? Well, to find that out, we have to look at the ingredients in them. The ingredients in foods come down to grains, carbs, and meat. Now, when you have a dry food, it has to have a carb. Carbs are needed, or carbohydrates. They're required so that you can actually make a kibble, a dry food. And that way, when it goes through what's called the extruder, it fluffs and you end up with that characteristic dry food that we see, that we put in the cat's bowl. Carbs are things that are easily digestible. I call them sugars, they're starches, things like that. Grains are one type of carb. Okay, so you can have grain-free foods that still have carbs in them. So all dry foods are going to have some carbs. That's pretty well the way it has to be. And so you're always going to be getting carbs in dry foods. Canned foods, some will contain different carbs, and some of them have gone to the extent of, rather than using grains, which are really blacklisted, corn, wheat, and that type of thing, they use the carbs such as peas, potatoes, rice. They're still carbs, but you can find canned foods that are high meat. And then raw, of course, generally is pure meat, or if you're making it yourself, you can have other additions in it. Sometimes you put a little bit of vegetables or something like that. But anyway, the point is, raw, you can control what is in there. What do we want? I can see cats coming in, they're fed a dry food exclusively, and that means high carb, relatively medium fat, and lower protein foods compared to down here. Those foods, quite often, cats get addicted to them, they end up being overweight, and then the next thing, of course, is with them being overweight, they can become diabetic later on in life. That's what we're trying to avoid. You can have an 8-pound cat that might weigh 12 pounds. I've seen some that tip the scale at 20. And then when you scale them down, get their weight off, they can be a nice lean 8 pounds again. When these guys are heavy, it burns out their pancreas, just like it does in people. Who are the people that are prone to diabetes? The ones that are heavier, obviously, and also ones that have a genetic predisposition. But generally, weight aggravates it, and in cats it really brings it out. So if you want to prevent diabetes, we keep them lean, we don't feed them a food that's high in carbs. The other side of this coin is water content of food. Dry food has about 10% water, canned food 75 to 80% water, and raw food, that's usually high in water content as well. The thing with the dry food is that cats are desert animals. They don't want to drink. And so if we have them on dry food, you're going to find that they're not going to drink very much, and then secondarily they're going to get a little bit dehydrated, and the urine they produce is very concentrated. It's like us. If we don't drink water all day long, at the end of the day our urine is going to be dark yellow. What's better for us? Of course, we're supposed to drink the 8 glasses a day. Therefore our urine is more dilute, and that's what we want to do with cats. If you have concentrated urine, it's going to form little crystals. And if those crystals are there, they can plug a male cat. And so what you end up with is male cats getting these little tiny crystals. They go down the urethra into the penis, and they will plug it physically. They can't pee, their bladder enlarges, that shuts down the kidneys, and they die. It's an emergency. If you ever see a male cat straining to go to the bathroom, he's got to get checked right away. So, how do we prevent these crystals? We bump up the water intake. How do we do that? We go with canned food. That's the easiest way to bump up the water intake in any cats. Sometimes we even have to take it further and we add water to the canned food, but you get the idea. So, what are we going to try and feed our cats? We don't want to feed dry because it's high in the carbs. We do want to feed canned because it's higher in meat and therefore much better, lowering carbs, but check the label. You want foods that have meat in the first 3 places and then maybe a little bit of carb after that. Preferably you don't want any. And so definitely we want to, if we've got a cat on dry food, we want to transition them to a canned. And then whether or not you go to raw, that's a totally different question. Which one's better? That's almost philosophical. You find people that are adamant that raw food is better. Other ones say, well, canned food is better because it's better balanced. My main thrust is going with a high meat, high moisture diet, and that's going to prevent a lot of health problems in cats. If you switch a cat that's on dry food to canned food or raw, you're going to see an immediate improvement in weight, their muscling, and also dry food cats tend to have kind of a scurfy coat with a bit of dandruff at the bottom, and by transitioning them over, quite often they'll become sleek and glossy and they feel a whole lot better. They have more energy. So definitely try and move down this scale here. If you want to get into raw feeding, or if you want more information on what you should feed cats, there's 2 websites I would suggest. One is www.catinfo.org, and the other one is www.feline-nutrition.org. I've got the websites listed at the end of this webinar so you can stop the playing and you can actually write them down and track them. So anyway, if you want healthy cats, let's get away from the dry, let's try and feed the canned or raw. They'll thank you for it, and they'll cut down on your veterinary bills. You're going to have less health issues. So, that's it for feeding cats. Hopefully we can make them all healthy. Thank you.